Hello friends, welcome back to the second episode of the PMDG Boeing 777 tutorial series. In the first episode, we discussed the cockpit layout and familiarized ourselves with the location of the buttons, switches, levers, etc. And also did the preliminary cockpit inspection, electrical power-up, and preliminary pre-flight procedure. In the second episode, we will take a look at our flight plan and we will do the CDU pre-flight. And if the time allows, we can just move on to the next where we do the boarding and start the aircraft for passenger boarding to get ready for our departure. There's a lot to discuss. I think the CDU pre-flight and the performance calculation for takeoff will take enough time to conclude this video here, but we will see where we end up. I'm trying to keep the videos at a reasonable time so that I don't waste anybody's time and the information I am sharing is valuable and easily followed without spending too much time tinkering around or anything like that. Anyways, thanks for joining me today on this second episode, and I'll be seeing you in the cockpit. All right, welcome to the flight deck of the 777 once more. We have completed the preliminary pre-flight procedure and the electrical power-up in our previous episode, and we will continue with the CDU pre-flight. At this point, the co-pilot can go outside to do the external workaround. I'm gonna skip that because the only thing that's simulated that can wear off is the brake pins. And I'm pretty sure if you are interested in the 777, you have seen tons of videos that's explaining how to check the brake pins. Just to save us some time, we will just directly go into the CDU pre-flight. We will start with the EFB first. And we will load or download our flight plan that I generated through SimBrief. First thing we do is go to the electronic flight bag and request the data from SimBrief. Once this is done, we will see our routing here from Lima Foxtrot Sierra Bravo to Kilo Oscar Romeo Delta, and aircraft type, our call sign, etc, etc, and the cost index is also displayed here, and the distance of the entire route. After doing this, we will just jump onto the FMC. And there is a click spot here, which I'm pretty sure you are very familiar with by now. Let me just zoom out, which will bring the EFB right in front of us when we are doing the FMC. We will click the FMC, verify that the ARAC cycle is current, the aircraft model and engine rating is also correct. And we see the message enter inertial position. This is displayed because we turned the ADIRIO on in our previous video and the time to align is 0, but the aircraft doesn't know its current location, so alignment cannot be completed until we enter the position. We will clear this message. One thing about the FMC messages is once you clear them, there is no way to recall them, so just make sure. And we will just select the position initialization and copy the GPS position and paste it here, and that will complete our alignment. We can also put the reference airport. It wouldn't be necessary because we use the GPS position to align, but just to double check our coordinates here, and then we are currently at gate 5, so we will put the gate number here, which will display the position of the gate, and if you look at here, we are super close, so that checks out. We will go to the route page and route request. You can also enter the route manually if you like to do that, but long haul flights has a lot of waypoints, so we will just do the request from the sim brief. Once this is done, it gives us option to set the payload and set the fuel instantaneously. I wish there was a way to simulate the fuel loading and the payload, or boarding simulation, but it's not simulated with this aircraft yet. But we will do and set these, and we will get the confirmation messages that which we will clear. And next up is to go and select the route. One thing though is the fuel. We might come back and revisit the fuel, because sometimes we might want to take more fuel depending on the weather conditions and other things at the destination airport, or how much time we are going to spend here taxiing to the runway. So we will revisit this when it's time. We'll just click the select route page, and it's going to request the route. While it's doing that, we can also display our OFP here to verify the loads. The fuel 81.56, so that's accurate. And that ding dong is the FMC message. So if we momentarily move the tablet away or peek through here, we will see the FMC message with a dot that is on our ECAS display, which means we have an FMC message that requires our attention. So descent forecast uplink ready, understood. Wind data uplink ready, understood. Performance initialization uplink and route 1 uplink ready. Okay, all good. We will load the route. It's gonna take a while until the aircraft loads the route. And once the loading is complete, we will see the activate option shown here on the LS6K. There you go, activate button is here, so we can activate the route. We have 5 pages, and we will execute. Now our route is entered and accepted. We can move on to the performance from here. We are not quite ready to select our departure and arrival because we haven't contacted ATC and haven't done any part of that, but we will come back to it. We will go to the performance initialization and perf init data accept, and that will carry on the reserves and flight level and the temperatures and the CG and everything else we need here. And then zero fuel weight, we will just select this line select key twice to load it. So that's the perf init we needed to do. From here we'll go to the route page. I'm sorry, to the legs page, route data, and wind data we can now load and request. Once this is done, we can click the execute button, which will load the en route winds to our CDU. And we will from here we will need to listen to the ADIS and get our clearance to select our departure. Okay, the ADIS frequency for Basel Mullhouse is 127.88, so we will tune that to our COM1 127.88, and we need to listen to the ADIS first to set up our altimeters.
Runway 15. Transition level 070. Numerous cranes in operation around Basel Mullhouse Freiburg. Advise on initial contact. You have information, Oscar.
Okay, information Oscar, we need to
Basel
remember
Mullhouse
this.
Freiburg Airport Information Oscar. 130 Zulu. Wind 230 at 6 ceiling 3800 overcast. Temperature 17. Dew point 14. QNH 1017. Landing and departing runway 15. Transition level 070. Numerous cranes in operation around Basel Mullhouse Freiburg. Advise on initial contact. You have information Oscar.
Okay, that's enough information. We have information Oscar. QNH is 1017. I changed it from inches mercury to hectopascals to set it up. And landing and departing runway is 16. So we can expect a runway 16 for our departure. If we take a look at the routing on our OFP here, let's see, it's a little bit twitchy. I'm not, maybe I should do this and get a little bit closer and move up. All right, right here we are departing from 15. That's okay. So, and it's a direct departure. Let's see if the ATC is gonna give us what we have from SimBrief, or if they are going to give us something different. The clearance delivery frequency is 121.955. So we will tune that now. 121.955. And there we go. Now we can request our IFR clearance. And to do that, I will just stick here, go to the departures arrivals page, just to be able to select it. Basel delivery, good afternoon. Swiss 64 Heavy with information Oscar, ready to copy IFR to Chicago.
Swiss 64 Heavy, a ball delivery, thanks for Oscar, expect runway 15. Climb 7,000 feet on runway centerline, then expect radar vectors Lazet. Squawk 5510.
Our co-pilot will read this back.
Expect runway 15. Climb 7,000 feet on runway centerline, then expect radar vectors Lazat. Squawk 5510. Swiss 6 for Heavy.
Swiss 64 Heavy, read back correct. Contact ground 121.605 when ready for push or start.
Ground 121.605 when ready for pushback or engine start. Swiss 6 for Heavy.
Okay, so we have our clearance now. We are departing runway 615 on runway heading, no SIDS, as we have heard. And we will be receiving radar vectors to our next waypoint, which will be, what was it? Lazat. We can now enter this information into our CDU and complete the first part of our CDU pre-flight. So the heading for runway 15 is 152. I am also going to set my heading back to 152 to get ready. Set. Now we can select our departure and execute this and go to the next page, Lazat. So we need to turn around for radar vectors, or we will wait for ATC to give us radar vectors to the first waypoint after departure, which is okay. So that part is done. Now we can now go to the VNAV page and go to the descent page and the descent forecast. and we can load the uplink that we have received for the descent forecast. Now it's loaded, and we are pretty much done with the CDU pre-flight at this point, except the performance calculation for takeoff, but we have to come back to that. This is just the routing and loading all the uplinks that we have received. One thing I forgot to mention, if you are not using an ATC software and if you are not going to listen to the ADIS, one thing you can do to receive the ADIS information, or at least the weather information, is to go to the comms page and down below flight information, tweet request, the airport, we will type it into the CDU and fill that field. We will just do a single request. You can do an automatic update. Whenever the weather changes, you'll get another message, but just to demonstrate, I'm gonna do a single request. We'll request it from the PMDG servers. If you are flying online on Watson or IVAO, you can do so as well, and hit the send button. This is gonna send the message. Once we receive, we should get a ECAS message over here for the information we requested. It's gonna take a couple seconds, or a little bit more than that, but we will eventually get the weather information, which should also give us the current QNH. There we go. 230 at 6 knots. QNH 1017, no significant weather. Overcast at 038, and the visibility is 999er. That's how you can request the METAR. We can cancel this, and this is the tab that gives us the different conditions which we can cancel. If you ever need to go back to these messages, you can go back to the flight information, the review page, and then you will see the messages you have received from ATC. Very cool. So that's the CDU, and we will do the overhead pre-flight and prepare the aircraft to start boarding our passengers. In fact, we can ask GSX to start boarding the passengers, and we can do the pre-flight while we are boarding the passengers to speed things up just a little bit, because it takes a lot of time to board all those passengers.
Boarding requested.
Okay, so starting with the overhead, let's just switch the view to maybe this to see it better. ADIO is on, thrust asymmetric computer is in auto position, battery switch is on, IFE passenger seats and cabin utility power is on, and it's asking me to open the doors, so give me a second guys, let me do it. Open the doors for boarding, disarm, open, open and open. All right, back to the overhead. Back to the overhead. Let's fix the wheel. All of this generator switches should be in the on position. Bus tie switches should be auto. Drive disconnect switch guards should be closed, and backup generator switches should be on. That's the left panel. Moving on to the middle. Oh, and the camera lights should be in the off position. Wiper selector as well. Over here, service interpath switch should be off. Passenger oxygen switch should be closed and guarded. Window heat switches should be on, which we turned on in the first episode. Rem air turbine switch guard should be closed, and all of this will be like in their required positions because of how we received the aircraft and how PMDG coded it, but I'm just going over that just as a overhead flow. the primary engine pump switches, the hydraulic engine pumps, engine hydraulic pump switches should be on. Fault message is correct because engines are not running. Electrical primary pump switches should be in the on position, or we can turn them on now. Demand pump selectors should be off. Seat belts, now we can turn them on because we are now starting the boarding. Nose smacking is in on position. Overhead panel light control, well, that's this light, we are not gonna touch it.
Your
Master
group has
brightness switch, we are not gonna worry about that
passenger
too.
boarding started.
If we go up here, electrical mode switches should be guarded, auto start should be on, engine selector switches or starter switches are in the norm positions. Fuel jettison switches should be guarded and off. Filter main selector should be in. How you can tell it's in? It's if it's out, there's like a slight shadow. If it's in, you don't see that shadow, so that's how you can tell. The arm switch should be off. Fuel pump switches should be off. Wing anti-ice selector, which is down below. Auto engine anti-ice should be auto for both engines. Nav switch should be off, on, logo not needed. Beacon not ready for that yet, and the wing light switch is as required. All the external lights should be in their off positions. Going up once more to the air conditioning, everything should be in auto. And the equipment cooling switch should be in the down below. Yep, in the auto position. Right here, I was blind for a second. It says off in the checklist, but I'll just keep it on auto. Gasper switch should be on. Recirculation fan switches should be on if the AC unit's external AC unit is not being used. All the temperature controls are in the good positions. Believe they're nothing to do here. They are all in auto and on positions, which is the correct positions for these switches. And the pressurization is also in auto, and the wiper is in the off position. That completes the overhead pre-flight. Reset the baro. Traffic we will turn on when we are departing, but you can also select this. Nothing's gonna happen because the TCAS or TCAS system is not running at this point. The flight directors, we can turn them on now for the MCP. And I think I have synced the baros. I'm not sure if it's synced to the co-pilot side, but if I have selected, yep, sync, yep, it's synced, so no need to worry about that. And while we are here, we can select the auto brakes to RTO. That's the MCP and FS pre-flight. Parking brake is on, so we are moving down to the pedestal. Let me just zoom just a little bit and get the view to a better view. And everything else should be in their required positions. At this point, I think we are done with the pre-flight, except we haven't done the pre-flight checklist. So we will call the checklist and go over the pre-flight checklist. Oxygen, we have tested that. Sorry, that's not the checklist. This is the pre-flight or before start checklist. Oh no, this is the before start checklist that we need to complete. We have completed the pre-flight checklist in the first episode, but this is actually when you complete it after going through all the panel scans. So this checklist, we will come back to it when we are ready to request pushback from ATC. And I somehow keep clicking to the click spot for the sun visors, which is kind of annoying, but anyway. So that's the pre-flight completed, and we will finish this episode with the performance calculation. Then in the next episode we will be ready to request pushback and get the aircraft prepared for takeoff. So I'll bring the tablet here again, and we will go to the performance tool. We will import this from the OFP. We are departing from runway 15. We will import the weights from the aircraft and request the weather, and we will hit calculate. So now I need to get to a better view just to see the information along with the FMC. I think this is better. We will go to the route page. Actually, let's see here. Okay, now I'll go to the index and start the performance from scratch. Thrust limiter, we are required to do TO2 based on our calculation, so we will select that. Temperature is 42. We will enter that. We will go to the takeoff. Looks like we have flaps 5. CG, we will double click to bring the CG 28.2. I don't know if we have the CG here. Looks like not. And then the reference switch reference speeds are 170, 173, 175, which is exactly what we have on the performance calculation. So we will select these. And why is takeoff gross weight not calculated here or not showing? 285.4. We will enter this to the takeoff gross weight and get the speeds one more time. And now we are done. Alright, now the rest is just getting the MCP set up. I don't know what was that. Sorry about that, guys. We know the V2 is 175, so we will set the speed to 175. That's the runway QDM, which we already set. And we can arm the LNAV and VNAV at this point. But we will also put the heading select, because that's what we will be flying for departure. And the altitude is already selected. So this concludes the CDU pre-flight and cockpit pre-flight, including the checklist. I hope you enjoyed the second episode of the tutorial series. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like. It helps with the YouTube's algorithm to make this video reach the other flight sim enthusiasts who are seeking some information. And if you stumbled upon this video but not a channel subscriber, it takes a couple seconds to hit that subscribe button and turn the bell for notifications. It helps a lot, and I appreciate the time that you take to hit that subscribe button. Anyway, this is going to be it for this episode, and I'll be seeing you in the next episode.